Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. And, man, I just saw something that created a fire within me. And so I want to make sure that you guys have a great understanding about how credit lines work versus debit cards, okay? Credit lines and credit cards versus the checking account and the debit cards. Boy, I saw something that discouraged thoroughly the use of credit cards, especially in a business setting. And the guy called in and was like, hey, I got a business, I'm in business, I'm a business owner, and I have a business checking account and I use my debit card. Well, because credit cards are bad. And so I use my debit card, but I got a call from the bank, and the bank said, listen, your limit is $2,500. Can we give you a credit card, a business credit card instead? Because you keep on going past your limit. And of course, we have to stop you because we said that your limit was $2,500. And then the host of the show was like, well, go somewhere else then. Don't get the credit card. Go somewhere else to bank. And I could see where the host was going with it. He wants to create financial responsibility. However, at the same time, I really just can't get with don't get the credit card. Because what you've done is you've actually closed off all of those opportunities that that business owner could have had. You don't give the same information to business owners that you do to consumers. And so many times what we tend to do is once something works for us, right? Say we're a consumer, then we try to paint everyone else in the same section. Well, because it worked for me, I'm a consumer, I want it to work for you as well. And many times what that does is it kind of puts a triangle in a square hole. You know what I mean? It's not supposed to go there. So, watch what happens when you take your credit card, right? And the credit card that this bank would have given this man would have far more exceeded the limitations of his debit card. Listen, with debit cards, and my friend can attest to this, with debit cards, it's more dangerous. Why? Because if you get your card stolen, let's say somebody purchases something in California, all right, and they are just going to town with your debit card, like my friend, all right, going to town with your debit card, racking up $4,500 on the debit card, it's most likely going to take you 6 months, good grief, 6 months to get all of your money back. Okay, that's half a year, 180 days versus the credit card. Let's go ahead and put a line between there. If your credit card gets stolen, how long is it going to take to get your money back? First of all, it's not your money. Oh, man. So this doesn't even apply. Look, 6 months. Yeah. Just let them know, hey, man, my car was stolen over there. In California, in Germany, in Europe, whatever. I'm not paying that amount. Just call them up and let them know. But with the debit card, hey, that's your money in there. So what the bank was trying to do for this man was trying to let him know, sir, and they probably were thinking, man, don't you know how business works? Don't you know the velocity banking method? Don't you know that you can actually make more money utilizing the credit card versus the debit card? Don't you know your money is safer with the credit card? Who have you been listening to, right? That's probably what they were thinking. But when and the man was saying, I have, my expenses and my income, I take good care of it. And I just don't know why they pushed on me the credit card. First of all, they weren't pushing, man, right? They were simply encouraging, because he was talking about cash flow, and he doesn't know that his cash flow, if it's kept in the credit card, that's what'll dramatically reduce the debt in his credit card. He can stay under the credit utilization the higher the limit goes on his credit card. I'm sure the bank was looking at his cash flow statement and was saying, man, this guy is A-OK. Let's go ahead and see if we can encourage him to use a credit card instead, to leverage our money instead of his money, our money instead of his family's money, instead of his business money. But this man who called up this guru stated, help me out. What should I do? Should I change banks? And the guru said, yeah, go ahead and change banks. Didn't tell him about leverage. Okay. Didn't tell him about leverage. Didn't tell him about how that if he were to place his expenses and pay his expenses, if he were to place that income inside of the credit line and pay his expenses from the same credit line, that he would be able to leverage like never before. That after 6 months, or perhaps 7 or 8 months, that his credit score would go up, right? And so possibly could his limits go up. No. He X'd out, right? X'd out that information and just said, go ahead and change banks. And then he put his own illustration out there. And the only thing that I found about that was kind of intriguing was that's not the only way to do it. There's more than one way to leverage your company. There's more than one way to leverage your credit cards. You can't say, yo, I'm going to cut these up simply because you had a bad experience with it. You had a bad experience with the credit line, with the credit card, because you were uneducated in it. The same goes with fire. You know what I mean? If you don't know what you're doing with fire, then you're endangering yourself and you're also endangering others. Same with the credit line, Fire, man, it can take us to the moon, can't it? It can take us to outer space. It can cook food for us when we use it wisely. Credit cards, they can buy cars. They can buy all sorts of things, right? It can buy our net worth, as a matter of fact. It can build legacies when you know how to use it correctly. If you want to know how to use it correctly, subscribe to this channel, become a member, so that you can get access to this information that pushes out all the ignorance about credit lines and ushers in a brand new role of velocity banking individuals who know what they're doing with the credit cards, who know what they're doing with the credit lines, and will make sure that we get rid of the fear of the credit lines. Listen, folks, it's time that we stand up, okay, and show the world, listen, this is what can turn economies around. Knowing how to use credit lines correctly. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This all over the world. Credit cards over debit cards any day of the week. God bless, and you have a good one.